Well, hello everyone, and welcome How to Capture Your Records with CDI. My name is Laura Froyam, and I'm the Sales Director here at Cities Digital, and I'm excited to walk you through basic Laserfiche scanning functionality. So let's take a look at what we have in store for today. So our agenda is we'll be looking at Laserfiche scanning, so scanning directly with your Laserfiche scanning software. We'll take a look at using Snapshot and all of the different features and functionality that's available as part of Snapshot. We'll dive into creating our own import profile and take a look at all of the different options that are available to you when creating import profiles. And then throughout all of those, we'll just dig into the formats and settings on all of those so that you feel equipped with the best way on incorporating your documents into your Laserfiche repository. And then after that, we'll go over a brief description on the additional capture methods that are available to you with Laserfiche, some out of the box and some are add-ons. So we'll get started here. I want to launch a quick poll. All right, we'll go ahead and close that out. So it looks like overwhelmingly a majority of users here today are using the desktop client, and only about 9% of those of you who have voted are using web access. And then 17% selected what is universal capture. So we'll be going through all of those. But this was also a trick question because when you're launching the Laserfiche scanning interface, it is the same whether you're using the desktop client or web access. It is the exact same. So whether you are on the go and you need to scan something in and you don't accidentally, but you have to use the web version of Laserfiche, your scanning functionality is going to be the exact same. So let's take a look. Starting out, Laserfiche offers two different standard modes of scanning. So this is for scanning your physical documents. Now in that poll, I had asked, what about universal capture? And a lot of you are like, what is universal capture? So we'll start there. Universal capture is the driver that allows you to use the Laserfiche scanning interface, but pull your documents in from a network file. So this is really great if you are getting faxes or you've got users who aren't Laserfiche users that are uploading documents to a specific folder as PDFs or maybe some other type of image. You can use universal capture to navigate to that folder and scan those into your Laserfiche system so that they get stored into your repository as a TIFF file. So then we'll look at basic and standard mode. So basic mode is really great and it provides a quick, easy way for you to scan documents when you're scanning one type of document into the same folder, but you may have multiple copies of that same document or multiple versions of that same document. Basic mode is really great for just quick, easy scans. Standard mode is really great for if you have more complex piles of documents that you need to scan in. So it offers you, like it says here, maximum flexibility when scanning your Laserfiche documents. So you have the ability to choose what folder you want it to go to, fields you want to have applied. It gives you more scanning options, which we'll take a look at here. So basic scanning has some great image enhancements right out of the box. We've got deskew, despeckle, rotate, but you can see here, standard scanning offers everything that basic scanning has, plus border removal, color removal, and all of these. So again, depending on the type of files that you are scanning in, maybe they're really grainy, maybe you need to remove the color so you can get a better OCR read, whatever it may be, that will help you determine whether you should use basic or standard. And just out of habit, I personally always use standard scanning because I like having the additional options available to me. So once you've decided what mode of scanning you want to use, then you need to choose your scan source. Choosing your scan source can be found in the File menu. And this allows you to select whether you want to use universal capture or whether you want to use a standard physical scanner and the drivers that are associated with that. So once you've selected your scan source, and we'll go through all of this in a live presentation or in a live demo in just a moment as well. But then from there, you choose your scanner. Sometimes team members may have multiple scanning devices linked up to their computer, depending on their scanner need. So for instance, let's say you have a laptop and you have a desktop scanner, and maybe you've got the Canon DR3010C, which is what I personally use on my desktop. But sometimes I need to scan in a large format document because I've got building plans or maps that are just oversized files. So I have to bring those to my large format scanner or my plotter. So I plug in my computer there, and as long as that scanner's got Twain drivers, you would be able to select that driver and have multiple scanners connected, and you can select the appropriate device based on your scanning needs. So from there, we'll take a look at what the different sections of the scanning menu. So once you launch scanning, you've got your File menu up here at the top, the Scanning Explorer window, which we'll dive into, the Display pane, the Document Properties, where you can edit metadata information, things like that, and then the Thumbnails and Output log for taking a look at what has been scanned. So let's take a look. I am going to launch scanning here. So right away, it prompts you to for what mode of scanning you want to scan in. So you can do basic or standard. By default, I always pick standard. And I'm going to select, don't ask me this again, because I don't like getting asked this every time since I'm always scanning in standard mode. So then I can click OK. If I want to go ahead and turn that prompt back on, so that's something that I can do by going into my tools, options, and then I can go into reset my prompts and then have it reset so that, again, it will continue to ask me whether I want basic or standard scanning. So here I've got my Laserfiche scanning window open, and we're just going to walk through some of the options and panes and different things, and then we're going to scan in a few files, a few pages, and manipulate those within this screen. So you can see how easy it is to drag and drop and move and edit and update, things like that. So within File, your normal start menu, so you can start scanning here, or you can start scanning with your toolbar here. Choose your scan source, which we went through, scanner setup, scanner options, settings. A really great thing that I highly recommend you take a look at, especially if you are scanning on a really regular basis, is customizing your keyboard. Customizing your keyboard gives you hotkeys to set up for starting your scanning and moving from field to field and splitting documents so that if you're scanning in a big batch of checks and maybe you're not using quick fields, you can use those keyboard shortcuts so that while your hands and fingers are already on your keyboard, you don't have to continue to take it off and click the mouse and put it back on and click the mouse. So it saves you a lot of time. And it's completely customizable too. So if you want to set up a particular action, which are items such as setting a default scanning profile or storing your documents or splitting them apart, you can simply click the action you want to do and then configure your shortcut key. And you can also do things, configure shortcuts for editing commands, so cutting, copying, pasting, things like that. Sorry about that. I thought I had muted myself. So the keyboard shortcuts are something I would definitely recommend you take a chance to get familiar with. So again, that's just in File, Customize Keyboard. So then within Edit, View, Actions, Help, we'll kind of take a look at these once we get some documents scanned in here. But first, we are going to start out with setting our default properties. So within a Laserfiche scanning window, setting your default properties just means that the next time you launch Laserfiche scanning, your default properties are going to be the same thing that you were just using when you finished scanning. So then if we click down on the next item, it's image processing. Image processing allows you to select from a number of different out-of-the-box enhancements that Laserfiche has available. So we're going to go through each of the options here. And something important to just kind of note and consider when you are scanning your documents is the order that these enhancements are listed in is the order that Laserfiche recommends you have in your image processing. So you can have deskew up here at the top and then do invert and then do your omni-page OCR. But you want to make sure that the items that you select as far as enhancements are in the same order as they are listed over here, because that's going to give you the quickest scan and store time and also give you the most accurate OCR capabilities. So it's important to remove the color from a document before you OCR it, because a black and white image is OCR'd at a greater accuracy than a color image. So if it's important to you to have black and white images, remove the color first and then do the omni-page OCR. And again, just follow this order. And if they get out of order, you can just drag and drop it into a different area. I'm going to remove that for now. And then we'll just go through the different enhancements. So border padding is just simply adding an additional border around the document. You can't see it because this document is already white, but you have the ability to add a little border if you wanted. It's just a white border around the document. Border removal removes the border. So if you get some documents that come in that have a little black border around the side, you can click border removal and that will remove the little black border. Color removal takes the color out of a document and converts it to a black and white image. Color smoothing sets up a color document so that if there's fading in the background, it will be more static across the background so that, again, that OCR text can get extracted at a higher accuracy. You have the ability to crop your documents so that they're down and cropped to a certain size. Deskew documents, so if they get scanned in and they're the corner catches so it goes in at an angle, you can click deskew and have that selected so that it scans in straight and it looks great. Despeckle is really great for those pages that have a lot of just speckles on them. They're really grainy, maybe they're old documents, meeting minutes, maybe somebody spilled some coffee on it or got some crumbs on it so you can see remnants. If you apply the despeckle, it allows you to select how accurate or how many speckles you'd like to have removed and whether it's by page and things like that. Invert converts it from, black and white to black on white. Line removal will allow you the option to remove lines throughout the document. Again, line removal is really great for trying to capture OCR and get a more accurate OCR capture. Resize allows you, again, to resize the document and you can rotate them. So if you're scanning in a lot of documents that are printed out in landscape mode and you want to auto rotate them to be a specific direction, you can select the rotate. And then smooth is for, again, if you've got some of those really old documents and they were on a typewriter and they weren't captured very well, you can use the smooth feature to fill in the gaps on your text so that, again, you're getting that greater accuracy on your OCR. And then finally, you always want to end with the OmniPage OCR if you are OCRing your documents at the scanning stage. Now, OCRing documents does take a lot of time and a lot of processing power. And I don't want to say a lot of time, but it takes more than, just an instantaneous, I'm going to store my documents, because the system has to go through and read all of the text and extract it and push it into the document. And so what we see a lot of times with our clients is that they're leaving OmniPage OCR off at the onset when they scan, and then they're capturing it maybe after hours with a distributed business process through their workflow device. Or maybe they're using another component called Auto OCR, which is an integration that we have that allows you to set up a schedule for OCRing documents in your system that haven't been OCR'd. Otherwise, you can just run a simple search at the end of the day for documents that haven't been OCR'd and OCR them when you're heading out the door, and then by the time you come in the next morning, they should be done. And we can take a look at that as well too. And then finally, there's the page removal. So if you want to remove certain pages from a particular batch of documents that you're scanning in, you can set it up that way. So whenever you click on any of these enhancements, you'll see that it pops you up to a new screen. And then from there, there's a wizard. And you can either skip the wizard if you just want DSKU on. Otherwise, you can go through the wizard and it will ask you a series of questions on how you want to configure that particular enhancement. So do you want to DSKU by lines? Do you want to DSKU by text or angle? I would recommend text. Otherwise, if you have lines on the document, that's another great way to have the page set up for DSKUing, because then the system will look at the line and try and ensure that that is straight. And then you can go ahead and finish, and you've got DSKU configured. So whenever you select an enhancement, it will add it to your image processing configuration over here in the display pane, or in the Scanning Explorer pane, excuse me. And so like I said, it's really important to keep these in order. So you can just drag and drop them. If you've got some extras on here because you're not scanning the same type of document anymore, you can go ahead and just right click on it and delete the document. Or I mean, delete the enhancement. So I'm now going to just scan in some documents. So I have my scanner settings to default to page size of letter size, so just a standard 8.5 by 11 sheet. My paper source is duplex. I should have gone through these before I hit scan, because now we can't click them. And then I have color images. So we'll wait for these to load in here and we'll take a look. All right, so I'll go through these options again. So you have the ability to select your page size. And then you also have the ability to select your feeder source. So automatic, feeder, or duplex. So feeder is just your basic scanner feeder. And that scans in simplex mode, which is just one-sided. If you switch it to duplex, it will scan it in duplex, so it captures both sides of the page, assuming you have a scanner that allows for duplex scanning. Again, I'm using the Canon DR3010C, which does allow for duplex scanning. And then you have the ability to scan in black and white, grayscale, or color. So we'll take a look at our images. We'll see here on the revision side on the Scanning Explorer pane that a folder has popped up. and then our document, which is untitled as of right now. And at the bottom here, we've got thumbnails. So by default, when you double click on a thumbnail image, it will load it into the document previewer. So any of these that I click on, if I double click, it will load it here so we can see it above. And when you're working in thumbnails, if you see that, oh, these pages are out of order and I'm not happy with it, you can just simply click on it and drag and drop it and reorder the documents. If you want to get a closer look at the document, like these ones, they came in and I am not satisfied with the way that they've been scanned, I can just highlight them by holding down my shift key and selecting a bunch of documents at once, or I can hit the control key to manually select the documents that I want, and then you can just go ahead and right click and delete the pages. So if you're familiar with Laserfiche, you know that you can also, with anything in Laserfiche, you have the ability to do things multiple ways. So you can right click and hit delete. You can use that keyboard shortcut that you're going to set up, or you can hit delete here up on the toolbar. You've got a number of different options to delete pages. Well, let's look at this page. This page came in and it is crooked and I am not satisfied with this. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and rescan it. So these toolbars up here are customizable. So if we look in the view, we have the ability to choose what we want to see in our toolbars. So we're going to look at our image, our navigation, standard, scan toolbar, and then our panes. So the Scanning Explorer, the document previewer, the properties page. We can set up and configure our views however we want. So I am going to rescan this page, but I think I'm going to have to change my deskew settings because it did not capture that right. So I'm going to go back in to my default, into my image processing, deskew, and I'm going to do it by angle this time. I'm going to click back on my document, click the page I want to rescan, and I'm going to click rescan. And I am scanning these live with my scanner on my desktop, so that's pretty exciting. So look at what happened this time. I switched it to angle in my deskew, and it captured the page, read the text, and automatically converted it, and automatically rotated it based on the text. And our scan looks great. So again, going back down to these, and when you hit rescan, something important to note is that when you rescan a document, it's going to rescan the number of pages and it's going to scan over the images that you already have. So if we would have rescanned 2 pages, it would have replaced page 3 and replaced page 4. So rescan replaces the pages in the document, not adds to them. So if you want to continue to add to your document, you can just select continue scanning instead. And then this will allow you to continue adding and give you a page 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on from there. Just waiting for it to load in here. I am scanning in color, so it's taking a little bit longer. And this time it's set on duplex again, so I've got the front and the blank back side of my document that was captured. So I'm going to go ahead and delete that once more. And as part of your image processing, you can always do blank page removal and then have it not capture that blank page. So when you're working in a document, if you scan the entire batch all at once, but you need to split it up, it's really easy. Again, you can use keyboard shortcuts, or you can just highlight the pages that you want, right click, and then split documents or create documents. So then that will take the pages that you highlighted, move them out of your original document, and create a new document for you. And then from there, you can go in and you can edit your document properties. So you can give the document a name, you can apply metadata, fields, you can apply tags, and then settings for updating the volume. All right. Okay, so I'm going to, and then once you're done, or actually let's go back down here to the thumbnails area, because this is where you really do a lot of your work. If you do a lot of scanning and you're using just basic Laserfiche scanning, you do a lot of your work with the thumbnails, or at least that's what I always did when I was doing scanning. But you can page through the thumbnails down here. You can create a document from your toolbar here. You can move it to a new folder. So this second document, we don't want to have it store into incoming scans. We want to select something else. So then it will allow us to navigate through our repository and select a different folder for pushing that document into. So we talked a little bit about default properties and setting those up. So when you're setting up your default properties on your scanned documents, you can also set it up so that it's giving you a default template for use every time. So if you're scanning documents in the same way over and over and over, let's say you're doing just accounts payable and you're doing checks every day, you could simply use your accounts payable, which I do not. You could use your accounts payable template and then have it default some fields for you automatically. So you do have the ability to do that so that every time you go into scan, all of those fields and pre-configured fields are already populated for you. So when we're done scanning, we'll just go ahead and click Store. And then that's going to send it to the Laserfiche repository for us. And then once you close out of scanning and hit refresh, your repository will refresh and you'll be able to see your newly scanned documents in that folder. We can see here that it applied our template. So from here, let's say you've scanned in this document, but you just got a few additional pages that you want to add to this particular file. So in Laserfiche, it's really easy to drag and drop documents on top of each other so that the pages merge together. Otherwise, if you need to scan additional physical documents, you can go ahead and open the document, and then in your image previewer, you can go ahead and click Scan, and then that will allow you to pick where you want to add those new pages into your document. And then you can always insert it in a particular spot. So if you are, again, you've got a vendor bill and you then cut the check and you need to add the check in and it's always the last page, you can set it up so that it's always the last page. All right, so let's go back to the PowerPoint here. And I've got another poll. I am curious to learn who is familiar with Snapshot and using Snapshot. All right, it looks like just about everybody has voted now. I don't know how to show you the results of the poll. I am very sorry. So we'll just go over it. It looks like 47% of people are familiar with Snapshot, which is great. 34% of people are not, and then 19% are wondering what it is. So we're going to take a look at Snapshot and configuring it and dive into all of the features that Snapshot can do for you. So Snapshot is a virtual printer that allows you to print already electronic documents into your repository as image pages. You can also set metadata for the documents when you capture them. So Snapshot is a really great tool for if you've got documents on your desktop that you want to convert to a TIFF image or that uneditable document type and then archive it in your repository. So let's say you're working on a Word contract and you're to a point where you want to snapshot that into Laserfiche because you've gone through, you've done all of your edits, and now it just needs to go into Laserfiche, maybe become a part of a workflow process and get routed around your company from there. Snapshot allows you to just print it to Laserfiche so that you don't have to physically print the pieces of paper and then scan them in. It saves you a couple of extra steps. So a couple of common use cases that we see for Snapshot, printing mainframe reports, again, batches of invoices. A lot of accounting systems we see and clients we come across, they have accounting systems that don't allow them to have an invoice approval process. And so they print or snapshot them into Laserfiche, and then they can be routed around from there. And then at that point, they could automatically email out to a customer or notify somebody else in the team that a new invoice has been generated and they need to take action. Also really great for maps, website confirmation. So if you're buying things online, instead of printing it to a PDF and then dragging it into the system for archival or receipt archival purposes, you can just snapshot it directly into Laserfiche. So where is Snapshot? Well, you just need to try and print something. So let's take a look at that. So here I've got just a regular old PDF document and I am ready to snapshot it into Laserfiche. So I'm just going to go ahead and click File, Print. And then in my printer setup, I should be able to navigate and find Laserfiche Snapshot as one of my options, and then I can just go ahead and select it. So from there, we'll hit Print. And then it's going to bring up some additional options on where we want this document to be stored in the repository. So here are my snapshot options. Within Snapshot, you can also create default profiles, which is pretty great. So if you're printing multiple different documents via Snapshot, so let's say you're doing taxes online and you name those documents the same way every time, you can use and set up a Snapshot profile for that. You can also set a Snapshot profile up for those invoices that you're printing in, which you'll see here is my default. And you can set up Snapshot for anything that you print on a regular basis so that you don't have to configure these settings every time. So you have the ability to name your document. I'm just going to call it a test document. You can navigate through your repository and where you want it stored. So I'm just going to put it in incoming scans. You can select your volume. So that's the volume where your pages are stored on the network. You can apply tags. You can tell it what you want it to do, if it's adding it as a new document or inserting new pages into an existing document. How to obtain the text from the document. So whether you wanted to perform OCR or not perform OCR. And then there's also some advanced settings too. So from here, we're just going to go ahead and click OK. So Snapshot is a tool that everybody who's got a Laserfiche system should have access to. If you don't see Snapshot in your print settings and you want it, you can just reach out to our Cities Digital support team by email or going to citiesdigital.com and clicking on the support link to get support, and our team will help you get it installed on your system. So when you have Snapshot, you can also set up those default profiles. So if you click on the Windows menu and type in Snapshot, it will bring you to the Snapshot configuration user. So we're going to go ahead and open that up. And this brings you to the same screen that we just went through. But this allows you, in this screen, it allows you to set up your preferences and then the defaults as well. So you can set up specific print preferences, which I'm going to go into because this is important. And there's lots of additional features within here. So like I said, you can set up different Snapshot profiles and have multiple different profiles set up with multiple different print preferences. So I just want to go through a couple of the preferences that are in here. So you can select a page size, landscape. You have the ability to select a specific format. Depending on the format that you choose, it will either print in color or just black and white. So you need to be mindful when you're going through these that if you choose TIFF Group 4, it's going to be a black and white document, even though we may have a color document. My standard is TIFF JPEG, so it will go into the system as a TIFF, but it will be a full color document, which we'll take a look at in just a moment. You also have the ability with Snapshot to apply a watermark. So if you've got a bunch of insurance documents and you need to say that they've been received on a specific date and you need to apply a watermark, you could simply do that with Snapshot. So you can add and create your own watermark. You can add and create your own annotation. So this would be, you want to do a time date stamp on every page. You could even do Bates numbering. So within this one, we will apply a Bates numbering stamp, and we'll take a look at this Snapshot option as well. So we want to start our numbering at 1. We want to use a prefix of, I'm just going to do page and start it at number 1. You can configure where you want it. You can choose your font, colors. Apply. Oh, so the color is down here. Okay. So I'm going to snapshot this one again with our new settings. And then we'll be able to take a look at the Bates numbering. Oops, that's not our document. So here is our original document that we snapshotted in. And I forgot to change the name on this one, but ooh, and it did not take our Bates numbering. I must not have applied it appropriately, or I still had it open and that's what did it. But we can fix that by, again, having our document going in print properties. Click on our Bates numbering. All right, so it didn't select it, didn't save it. Apply our Bates numbering. Okay. try this one more time. Oh, and now I put it in the wrong folder. Oh, no, it didn't yet. All right. So here we got our Bates numbering to successfully add to our document. So as we go through and look at the pages, it automatically appended the page number to it. So that's a really cool feature, along with the watermarks that you can do with Snapshot. This is really great for agenda meeting packets, or anything that you may need to apply Bates numbering to. So next we will take a look at import profiles. So again, I am curious to learn who is using an import profile. So just going back to the flexibility that Laserfiche offers, you have a number of different ways to add documents into the system. So you have the basic scanning, which we looked at. You've got the ability to snapshot your documents. And you also have the ability to just simply drag and drop documents or file import documents into your system. All right, so it looks like everybody has voted. So about 23% of voters are using import profiles or are familiar with them. 43% are not using them, and 33% are wondering what they are. Well, I think import profiles are pretty great. So as I mentioned, you can drag and drop documents into Laserfiche. And when you do that, you can set up an import profile based on the documents that you are adding in so that it can automatically apply metadata to that document and rename the document without necessarily leveraging workflow. So if you want to be able to have some automation in your process to make your life a tiny bit easier, you could do that with import profiles, even if you don't have workflow. So we're going to go ahead and actually set one of those up. So let me pull up my demo machine. So I am going to use a scenario of I receive emails from a vendor, Laserfiche, on a regular basis that are formatted all the same way all of the time. And I want to use an import profile to recognize those files so that I don't have to automatically apply the name, the invoice information, and all of that. I wanted to bring that information in for me automatically. So you can see here these emails, and it doesn't have to be an email, it can be any type of electronic document that you are bringing into the system. But you can see here that they're standardized and they're named the same way every time. This is really great for statements from maybe a custodian or a broker dealer or you know, your Comcast vendor or vendors of some sort. So they're set up and they're named the same way every time. To find your import profiles, you would go to Tools, Options. Actually, yes, I'm second guessing myself. Tools, Options. Once you set them up, you can forget about them. So you'll go to Tools, Options, and then navigate to New Documents, and then Import Profile. And then within this section, you have the ability to create a new import profile. So we'll go ahead and add a new one. And you can name it whatever you want. I'm just going to call it Laura. Generate tokens based on the file name. What does that mean? So something I haven't really dug into much, but that is available with all of the scanning options and capture options that we've gone through already, is the ability to use tokens. So tokens in Laserfiche allow you to, or allow the system to read specific information associated with a name of a document, or maybe template fields that you've generated, and create a name for the document and help it auto-file the file from there. Well, workflow helps the document auto-file from there, but it can help rename the document. So we want to generate tokens based on a file name. So from here, it's going to ask you, well, what is the file name? Tell us a little bit about it, and what is the separator option from the string? So if I look at my import profiles, document names, we can see here it's new, auto, LSAP, invoice, for, and then the company name. So I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of extra fields here. We're going to type in new. Should have my screens minimized. New auto LSAP invoice. New. And I'm just going to call this field name. My delimiter is just a space, so I'm just going to put my cursor in there and click space. And so if I click this little arrow, this is what's going to bring me to the token area. So I can use custom tokens, which are what I just populated in my fields up here, the file name format. Or I can use system tokens like date, time, user, things like that. Oh, I'm actually going to fix this. So I want to set up a custom one, and I want it to name my documents by the invoice, and then space dash space, go back into my custom tokens, and then by the name. And every time I want it to dump it into accounts payable. So I can change and add a template. I could AP documents, and then click OK. Okay. So now, if I import these documents either by selecting them and dragging them and dropping them, or if I were to go into File and select Import, it is going to pop up with this Import to Laserfiche window. And then from there, I can select my default import profile. So we're going to do the Laura one that I just created. Nope, it didn't select it right. So we're going to go to LSAP invoices because I did set it up the right way the first time. But here we can see that first document that it's bringing in, it's got our invoice number along with the customer name, and I can select generate text or not. I can update fields, tell it what I want it to do with the attachment if it's a Word document, so I can separate it out or leave it in, and things like that. Then I'm going to go ahead and apply those properties to the whole batch so I don't have to do this every time. Then click OK. All right, so then because my original profile, I'm not sure where I stored those documents, we're just going to do a quick search for documents created today. We'll be able to take a look at those. Last modified, I want to do created today. So here, created at 1:52 Central Time is my first one. And because it is and I don't have Outlook installed actually working here, an email, but we can see here that when we imported it in, it changed my document name to invoice and the customer name instead of new auto LSAB invoice for so-and-so. Perfect. All right, so now let's take a quick look at other capture methods. So we're not going to spend a lot of time on these, but I just want to briefly gloss over them so everybody knows what else is available to them. So these first few are just, again, out of the box and are available to anybody who is using and has full user access into the Laserfiche system. So there is a Word, Excel, and Outlook add-in, which you can just simply add to your toolbar, and that will allow you to save documents directly to the Laserfiche repository without having to maybe go through Snapshot or drag and dropping it. You can just use the toolbar and then save it to the system. You also have photo docs. So photo docs is a really great feature. And again, this is available to anybody who has Laserfiche scanning. You just need to get it installed. And if you don't have it installed and you're interested, please reach out to our support team. But photo docs allows you to take a picture of an image and then convert it to a scanned file. So you don't have a bunch of pictures of book pages. It converts it to a digital file that looks a lot more like a scan, so that it's easier for printing and viewing and OCRing. So you can see here on this particular image that this page and the text on the page is rounded because it's in a book. PhotoDocs allows you to manipulate the image and then get a clear-cut read on all of the contents and text of that file. And again, this is available to you out of the box. If you're interested in learning more, just please let us know. You also have the ability to do mobile capture. This is assuming that your team has allowed you and set up the mobile web server and access to your repository, but you could simply just take a picture with your phone and then upload that into your Laserfiche system. And then from there, you can update metadata and things like that. And documents that are added from your phone have the ability to participate in workflow processes and things like that. So the next couple tools are add-ons to the Laserfiche system. So we've got Import Agent. Import Agent allows you to set up monitoring on a network folder and have those documents automatically pulled into the system. So like our import profiles that we took a look at earlier, the import profiles are a manual process where somebody has to manually import the documents. Import Agent just does it for you automatically. And you can still set up those profiles. So based on the network folder selection that is chosen, it uploads the documents in a certain way. Import Agent is really good for monitoring fax servers. And one of the newer features of it that's available to anybody who has Import Agent, as long as they're on 10.3, it has the ability to monitor their email server so that you can archive your emails directly to Laserfiche automatically as well. So you can apply templates, metadata, and OCR the documents with Import Agent. And Import Agent also allows you the option of choosing what you want to do with the documents that are on the network file too. Do you want to move them to a different folder? Do you want to delete them so they aren't, so you don't have duplicate copies? What do you want to do? And it allows you to configure that. And then an additional add-on is Quick Fields. So Quick Fields is a really powerful, robust, automated capture tool. This is designed for high volume scanning environments. So if you've got standardized documents and you want to be able to extract data or information from those documents automatically so that you don't have to type anything in or configure a default profile each time, you're scanning a new type of document, you can leverage quick fields to automatically extract those that data for you. So that is all I have for today's webinar on scanning. Next month, I will be doing a webinar on HR automation. We have been doing some really exciting things internally here at Cities Digital for HR. So we're going to take a look at everything from employee onboarding, benefits enrollments, reviews, and terminations, and how that all ties into job descriptions and how you can update it with the databases and everything in the background. So feel free and please join us for next month's webinar on HR automation. And then additionally, after today's webinar is over, this has been recorded and will be available for download. And additionally, I've got some really great resources that are going to be available to you as well that you'll be able to download from our client portal. We've got some super great training guides that our team has come up with, as well as a couple great training guides that Laserfiche has to help you on your scanning way. So at this point, I'd like to open it up, and if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to put it in the chat box here, and I will try and get through those. I almost forgot about questions. All right. So I have a question here. If more than one person is scanning into the same repository from different scanning stations, will it automatically only show them what they have scanned in, or will all of the documents for all of the individuals show up in the same spot? So this is a really great question. As long as your users have full access to scan documents into the repository, and they have the same permissions to see the same areas of the repository and same types of documents, then they'll be able to see each other's scanned documents as well. But it's all about the permissions and the securities that are set up within your Laserfiche system. This webinar has been recorded and will be available on YouTube. We do have a YouTube channel where you can take a look at any of our previous webinars and scroll through those and kind of get some good ideas. I have a question here. Will there be a complete move from the desktop version to the web version soon? And that's another really great question. These are all great questions. I'm going to say that every time. But Laserfiche has made a web-first approach, or taken a web-first approach at development. So any changes to the repository or customizations and the user interface will be done to the web first, but then they will get pushed out from there to the desktop. I can't foresee them getting rid of the desktop anytime really at all. A good majority of our clients are still leveraging it. Some people just prefer it. So there's nothing indicating that it's going to go away at any time. Next question. Can you search full text in files which have been snapshotted? You bet. So when you snapshot documents into the Laserfiche repository, it does give you the ability to select whether or not you want to OCR the image when it's getting snapshotted in. And so if you select yes, you will be able to run the full text searching on it. So, got another question here. Our team uses Laserfiche, but they encounter challenges in creating workflows. Do you offer training in this area, or can you configure it for us when new ones need to be created? What sort of support do you offer in this area? I really love this question because our firm, and I think a lot of our clients really don't know this about us, but we do a lot of consulting services. So, and that is actually the biggest team that we have as part of Cities Digital is our consulting team, where all they do all day long is sit down and configure and build workflows for customers. So we offer project management services where we'll sit down with you and we can help you build the process, such as all of the requirements gathering and collecting, and then we can identify the best way to build the process or leverage your Laserfiche functionality to implement that then into your system. And so we've got full project services from assessments if you want us to come in and just shadow your team and see how you could be leveraging Laserfiche in a better way. We can offer that. Otherwise, we can just do basic Laserfiche training as well on any of the components or features that you're interested in. We also do a lot of training where we do more of a train the trainer approach, where you'll have a process that you want to build out and we'll build it there with you. And I think that is the best way to learn how to do anything in the software, because we're building out a process that you're actively going to be using, and then any of the information that you learned or any of the configurations from there you can use in other areas of your Laserfiche system. So if you're filing to a particular folder and you do that in more than one process, you can just easily copy and paste that. Additionally, we have got some other questions. Are import profiles a one-time creation, or can they be applied thereafter when needed? So import profiles, you can configure multiple import profiles and then edit them as needed. So I didn't actually show that, but you do have the ability to go into your import profiles area, tools, options, new documents, import profiles, and you can edit that import profile and make changes from there. There are a lot of great questions in here, and unfortunately, I have run out of time, but any that I have not addressed on the webinar here today, we will get you set up with your account manager, and we will personally reach out and address the additional questions that you have. But again, I really appreciate you joining me today. I really appreciate your attendance and asking questions and wanting to learn more. After the webinar is over, we will have a short survey, and your input is valuable to us. It helps us identify what other webinars you're interested in or what other Laserfiche components you're interested in learning about. So please take a few minutes to fill out that, rate me on my performance, and make suggestions on whatever you might want to see. And again, any questions that I haven't made it through, I apologize here, but we will get you an update and address your question today through your account manager. And thank you everybody for attending. Have a great day.